Well, speaking of emotional attachments to animals,
Oh my
if you
gosh.
haven't already clicked watch stream on your end, Matilda,
Got
please
it.
go for it. But yeah, I guess the question I gotta ask last is, have you ever made a tier list?
Of sheep? No.
Well, have you in general made a tier list?
I think maybe, but I'm not sure. Maybe you're doing something different from what I'm used to. Tell me
We
about it.
probably are. We probably are. Tier lists, come from fighting games as a way to rank character choice. But on many places on the internet, especially on Twitch, there are a way to rank things in everyday life. And of course, we as folklorists love that shit. And right now, we have created a tier list for you that is the top breeds of sheep. Is it for wool?
Oh my
Is it by
God.
personality? Who knows? I will leave that to you. But I'm going to run through these sheep, and you are going to rank them. And they're
Oh
going to
my
come up
God.
on a scale from S to D, S being a theoretical grade above 100 and D being barely passing. Do you want to rank some sheep?
I do, but I
Right.
also want to say
Yeah.
that
Sheep.
I am obsessed right now with the idea of making a sheep alignment chart. So I may have to work on that after the stream.
You can also click alignment chart here and change it to an XY axis.
That's
Let's
what we
do
should
that.
do,
Let's do that.
actually.
Let's do the ranking.
Yeah,
I want to
I'll
do the
rank it, then
ranking, but I'm
I'll
kind
send
of
you a list
obsessed
of
with
this
how
that
they would work out.
you can alignment chart it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So I have all of these labeled on a separate screen. I hope I have all of them right. You let me know if there is a sheep I am misnomering or mispronouncing, but I'm going to start off first because this is a hysterical picture. And this is a blue-faced Leicester.
Okay. So I'm gonna put that as an A.
Nice.
Do you want to know why?
Yes.
Should I give you reasons?
Always,
Okay, so
always.
the reasons for that, Blueface Leicester is one of the best, like, I wouldn't say all-purpose, but one of it's one of the fibers that makes spinners the happiest.
Mm-hmm.
And it is something that you can use a lot of general knitting and weaving projects. But also, if you're a farmer, Blueface Leicester is awesome because you can kind of vaguely see from that picture, they have a clean face.
Yes.
And they also have clean legs, so they're easier to shear. They have a really nice, like, silky texture to the fiber and a good sheen.
Hell yeah.
I'm so curious. Are there people in the chat who are like wool nerds? Who
People
are
in
all
the chat,
excited by
literally,
Yes.
people started going Blueface Leicester, gang, gang. We love it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you found the Blueface Leicester fan club in chat.
Eldritch
Excellent,
Logia
excellent.
is, yes, also very materially. And then Death Florist is a 4-H kid.
Yeah.
So
You've got
Nice.
people specifically cheering for this breed of sheep, and we're only one in. Next is a
And
bond.
also, FYI,
Yeah.
Blueface Leicester is also like normally known by an acronym by spinners. We just say BFL.
BFL, yeah.
Yeah,
I
and we
see
all
that in
know
chat.
what it
I
is.
see that in chat.
yeah, BFL gang gang.
BFL gang gang. This next one's a bond.
Okay, so I'm not as familiar with them. This is one of these Australian breeds that comes out of merinos. So, bonds and like Corriedales and all of that, they're all kind of these like you mix a merino with a long wool usually, like a Lincoln. And you get kind of this medium fiber. So unfortunately, I haven't spun bond, but going based on like Corriedale, I would put it at like a. Honestly, if it's like Corriedale, I would put it at a C.
Okay. We can do that.
It looks
And yeah, I'm not gonna like meaning to diss the bonds, but like if it's like the Corriedale, it's kind of like this medium-ish wool that I find kind of too coarse for some projects and too soft for other projects, and I find it kind of like it's fine for certain things, but there are things that work better.
Yeah.
Bond
Like I would
sheep-
use Targi in place of something like that.
A lot of these are coming up in just a second, and I'm very excited.
They look like
Okay,
the
what-
archetypical sheep, almost. The bond sheep.
Yeah. Well, if you look at them, it's so hard to see from that tiny, tiny picture. But if you look at them closely, like you can see that they have like a pretty heavy fleece, and they tend to have like a lot of. If you look at it closely, you can see that they have like probably wrinkles on their skin, which makes them harder to shear. And that's typical of the merinos. But the merinos are prized because they have the finest wool, pretty much.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. At least consistently. Like, there are sheep that have maybe a finer undercoat than a merino, but the merino has the same fineness of fiber over the entire body, which is part of why they're like the most commercially valuable sheep.
Merino's coming up
wool.
in just a sec. I can see him
Is
on
that
here.
a Cheviot?
No, this.
Do you have a Cheviot coming?
Do I have a Cheviot? No.
Yeah. No, what do you have there? Who's bunny ears?
This is a Border Leicester.
Border Leicesters. Okay. Put those at a solid B.
Okay.
I'm sure a lot of people would contest putting a Border Leicester at a B and a Bond at a C. But Border Leicesters, I will tell you, for husbandry purposes, these guys also, they have the clean face, clean legs. They're super easy to shear. They have a fairly large body, so if you want to have them for meat too, I knew somebody who had them as a dual purpose breed for both wool and meat. They were great for that. Also, my very first large weaving project was hand-spun Border Leicester from that person's farm. So I do have a bit of a fondness for them. It's kind of a medium-ish wool. It's not the most lovely wool to work with, but it's easy to spin, and it works up well, and it has a nice sheen to it, and it dyes really well. It gets jewel tones when it dyes. So.
Medium sounds like B to me, so consistent.
It is big old bunny ears.
I love the bunny ears.
Yeah, I think I'm putting Bond at a C just because, like, I wouldn't want to shear that sheep.
Yeah, and you can change later. Next up is a comeback.
Oh, comeback. Jeez. Okay, that one I'm not that familiar with.
Okay. We can always leave it off. We can always leave it off if you don't want to rank it. Yeah.
I'm actually looking them up to see, because you're getting me a bunch of these, like, Australian ones.
We might be, yes.
Yeah, it originates in Australia from crossbreds produced by British long-wool sheep and merinos.
Yeah, and this is a really common thing to cross long wools on merinos. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I haven't spun comeback, and I don't know it that well.
We can leave it off. We can leave it off.
I'm really into the British breeds and the Northern European breeds, and so I don't really know these Australian ones that well.
We might let's keep it. We can keep going. We can keep going then. With
go for it. Go for it.
List we got. This is a Cormo. This next one.
Yeah. Oh, S. Is that an S?
Yes.
Yeah. Put it up at the top.
Hell yeah.
That is one of the best things in the world to spin. There's nothing like Cormo. Also, it smells oddly like styrofoam. I don't know what the deal is. But there's nothing like it in the world. It is totally different from other wools. And also, there are only 2 mills in the US that I would trust to process Cormo wool, because it's very difficult to process. You either want to do it by hand, or you want to have these 2 mills do it. And that's Morrow or Zeilinger. And I would go Zeilinger first.
Nice.
You really want to get that process at Zeilinger. If you get Cormo top processed from Zeilinger, that is the best spin you will ever have in your life.
You heard it here first, chat. I love this. Next up, you mentioned earlier, is a Corriedale.
Okay. Yeah. Put that at a. I feel bad saying C, but I kind of want to say C.
Top of C or bottom of C?
Oh, they're the same to me, those two. I don't know Bond that well, though. I haven't really gotten to mess with it too much.
Let's do top of C then.
Yeah, I have put I have spun Corriedale. So Corriedale's great because it's good for teaching beginners, but I don't like the yarn it produces, and I don't enjoy spinning it. It's just it's that situation where it's like it's too coarse for some things and not coarse enough for other things. Like, I wouldn't make a carpet out of it, but like if I was going to make something that I kind of wanted medium coarse-ish, there are other things I would choose.
Sure.
Just not my fave. Yeah.
This next one, I hope I'm saying this right. Is it Deboulet?
Oh, okay. So this is one of the Merino family.
Yes.
There are a bunch of them. There's Rambouillet, there's Deboulet. There are a bunch of them like that. They are great for what they are. Merinos are not my favorite thing. I kind of want to put it at like A or B just because it's really good for its purposes.
Okay.
So my issue, you can put it at A. My issue with the Merinos, all the Merino family, is that, and some of these others, like the Rambouillet, is like Merino, but even bouncier, which I really like. But the problem with the Merino family is that most of the like fancy commercial yarn in the US is merino, and it's usually superwash merino, and everybody's really focused on softness. And softness is not the only wool quality that you want in a project. There are a lot of different projects that would benefit from different qualities, but when the market is flooded with expensive superwash merino, it's really hard to find those other wool qualities. And also you kind of get into this like almost like monoculture situation where you have everybody breeding the same type, and then the smaller breeds aren't getting the attention and they start dying out. And when you have an animal that like lives up to like maybe 15 years, then that doesn't take a lot of years of neglect before a breed can just die out. So I really try to look at other breeds, not the merinos and merino family. But yeah.
Well, let's just run through the merinos, because I will pull.
Go for it.
I will pull Rambouillet next.
Well, apparently the Debouillet is from New Mexico, so.
Oh, cool.
Let's look up the double A. Rambouillet, I really do actually enjoy of the merinos quite a bit, and I really like it when it's used as like a cross. So like if you get a Rambouillet ram and you cross it on one of the more like meat sheep breeds, then you get some really, really nice lambs.
Nice.
So yeah, you could put that as an A.
Is it an A between Debouillet and BFL?
Put it before Debouillet.
Before Debouillet, but after BFL, like that. Okay.
BFL has to sit at the top of that one, I think,
And
at least for
Rambouillet, the Debouillet was developed from the Rambouillet, so.
And they're both
absolutely.
And are they both developed from our next one here in merino?
Yeah, these are all merinos.
So where are we putting this? Where are we putting this merino? Chad is saying, "Oh, I'm allergic to wool. I can only have merino." Where are we putting the merino?
Yeah, I mean, it's great for what it's great for. So, gosh, I can't.
Real lunch
it's hard.
pail kind of player.
Yeah, I don't know. You can put it up at the A too, because I mean, these are all kind of the same sheep.
This is like a bottom A, bottom A.
Yeah, put it maybe before the Debouillet.
Okay.
I keep moving that Debouillet down.
Keep.
It's hard to
Debouillet's
say
gonna end up
because
in
it's
B
like,
eventually.
yeah, I mean, you know, I just haven't used Debouillet that much, but I've used a lot of Rambouillet and I've used a lot of merino.
Sure.
And also there are different merinos, you know, like some of them have like super fine fiber, and that's pretty incredible stuff. And it's a real different experience when you're using stuff that's gone through the superwash process, where they've basically coated it with like a plastic so that you can put it in the washer and dryer. Yeah. But it has its purposes, you know, like this is the thing is like, I think that like there isn't really so much like bad wool out there. They have their different purposes, you know, it's just what you're using them for. If you're talking about my enjoyment in spinning, well then I would, and ease of shearing, then I'm going to move all those merinos down further, because I don't enjoy spinning them as much as some of these other breeds.
You could move them down further.
Well, let's see what else we have.
Tier list.
Yeah, your tier list. Next one is a Finnish landrace.
Oh, yeah, put that in the top category.
Yeah, is it top tippy top? Is it under or over?
After Cormo.
After Cormo. Okay, great.
Yeah. So Finnish landrace. This is in the Northern European short-tailed sheep family, which is my favorite. But like, it's really hard to beat a Cormo. Like, oh my God, it's just so wonderful to spin. But Finnish landrace, they have this beautiful, beautiful wool. It's like pearly.
Yeah.
Like it's like got this wonderful sheen to it. But also they are super, super productive, wonderful mothers. So they have many, many, many babies. Like they have litters of babies. They have more like triplets and quadruplets than virtually any other breed. And people often cross Finn sheep with other sheep so that they kind of get a nice cross that has more productivity, more babies. So,
cool.
Yeah, they're great sheep. They're so cute too. The other thing about these short-tailed sheep, so the short tail might seem weird to people because you think sheep have short tails. Well, they don't. Their tails are docked. They're almost always docked. And the reason for that is that if they poop on their tail, then the flies come and lay babies in their skin.
Oh, not good.
And it's called fly strike. And it's one of the most horrible things you could ever deal with. I've dealt with fly strike once. I hope to never deal with it again. It's horrifying. So people dock the tails basically because it prevents like a really horrible health problem and possibly death.
Yeah.
So with the short-tailed sheep, their tails are naturally short. You don't have to dock them, which is really nice for people who don't want to be docking anything on an animal.
Mm-hmm.
Also, landrace, maybe that might be interesting to unpack that term real quick. So a landrace differs from a breed in that it's it's a sheep that it's developed in a particular area, and its kind of uniqueness as a breed or whatever you want to call it comes from it being kind of in the same area forever or over generations, not forever, right? But for like thousands of years, over many generations, rather than a specific selective breeding program.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's
They're more like, I don't know, you might think of them as like indigenous sheep in a way, you know? Yeah.
Okay.
That's cool. What's up next? I keep wanting to read this as Polyrath, but it's a Polwarth.
Polwarth! That's a nice wool. That's a very happy, bouncy sort of good wool to spin. Put it at a B.
Top of B?
Yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Next is a Romney.
Okay. See, this is where it's really hard for me because I keep thinking like, but it's there's a purpose for everything, right?
Now
So
get into your
Romney
opinions.
Romney sheep are fantastic. I love Romney sheep. A lot of people don't. I've heard people say they're not really for knitting yarn. You only use them for carpets. I've heard that. I think they make a perfectly fine knitting yarn if you're not expecting something that you could like wear right against your skin. So you could make blankets out of it. You can make sweaters where you're wearing an undershirt with it. But yeah, and the thing about the Romney is it's resistant to the sort of parasites and hoof problems that you get in damp environments.
Yeah.
So if you live in a place with a lot of rain, like where I was living in Oregon, a Romney sheep is a really great choice because you don't have to worry about hoof rot with them to the same extent that you do other sheep, and you don't have to worry about the parasites because they're from a marshy area. And they are very large-bodied sheep, so they can be kind of hard to shear because of their size, but not because of the type of the wool. The wool is really easy to shear, and it's like easy to process. Like you hardly have to do anything with Romney. You just give it a real gentle wash, and you're pretty much ready to process it super lightly, and then you can spin it. It comes in beautiful colors. It has a really nice sheen to it, but it is, kind of a medium coarse wool. They're also just nice sheep. Like I've seen a lot of 4-H'ers with them, which is kind of amazing because this is one of the largest bodied sheep, but they're pretty docile with the kids.
Hell yeah.
So I like Romney. I like them every which way. They make me happy. Put them right after BFL. It's a great sheep.
Nice.
Awesome sheep.
Let's go.
Yeah. All around good sheep.
Good.
I will say that commercial Romney kind of sucks. So if you've gotten Romney to spin before, that's like from like kind of the wool pool where people are like, just the wool pool is where they like buy up just the whole clip, which is like all the wool shorn in a year from farms, and they're getting like 10 cents a pound or something ridiculous like that. And that Romney that you'll get from that, it's all like this 3.5-inch white Romney, which is kind of the standard for processing. It's gonna suck. So like you want Romney that's grown for hand spinning, and if you want really good Romney, there's a lot of great producers out in Oregon. Really, really good producers out there with beautiful colors. Some of the most beautiful colors I've seen in a fleece have come from Romney sheep.
Cool.
Yep.
All right, let's do 3 more. This next one mentioned before is a Targi.
Oh yeah, Targi's great. Super bouncy, super fun. See, I want to put that in the A category again because it's just so nice. Put it after the Romney.
It's cool having a robust A as like the gatekeeper tier before we get to the real serious ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we've got the Tesswater.
Teeswater.
Teeswater, my bad.
Teeswater, yeah. And you have a Wensleydale after
And a
it.
Wensleydale. Those are the last 2.
Yeah. So, but there's something in front of them, isn't there? I see like
That's the
another
comeback.
guy there.
That's
One
the
we
comeback.
skipped.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the comeback. Okay. So, so I don't know how people feel about this, but I would put Teeswater ahead of Wensleydale.
Okay.
But it's good to consider them both together because they're
Okay.
both kind of similar.
Yeah.
Look at his face.
So yeah, aren't they great?
Such a
So
good
they
face.
are long wool sheep. Long wools are a family of sheep from
Mhm.
England, and they all have this really long, silky fiber, and it dyes up with beautiful jewel tones. So it's like lustrous, and it's so beautiful, right? But most of it's pretty coarse. And the two that you have here are the ones that aren't coarse. I will say that when I have spun Wensleydale, I've sometimes had some really bad fiber and sometimes some really beautiful fiber. The Wensleydale, the locks of wool can be like 12 inches or longer.
Wow.
You can shear them more often so you get a shorter lock of fiber, but if you leave it long like that, they look really impressive when you're showing them.
Yeah.
So, people leave it long,
They look
right?
like Afghan hounds.
Yeah, but it's actually a surprisingly fine fiber and it's very silky. And the Teeswater though, that like how I was describing the Finnish sheep where they have this like pearly sort of thing going on, they're like that. It looks like so the way that the fiber has this like lovely like rippling crimp, it looks like a string of pearls, and it is just so nice to spin. It's so beautiful and so silky and just lovely. So I don't know. I mean, I kind of want to put them in A also.
Let's do it. The
both of
gatekeepers
them.
here. Where are they? Between
Yeah.
what? Are they next to each other
Okay.
and between what?
Put the Teeswater after the BFL.
Okay. The
Uh-huh.
BFL, the
And then-
gatekeeper of the gatekeepers. Yeah.
And put the Wensleydale maybe after. Who do we have up there? We have all these Rambouillet, Debouillet.
Yep. Rambouillet, Debouillet.
Who's number 4 there? Who do we have
That
in the fourth
is
spot?
number 4 is Targi.
Targi. Okay. Put the Wensleydale after the Rambouillet, which I think is number 5.
Yeah, it is. Good eye.
Yep.
Cool. And I'm cool with like renaming this to like Skip and putting the comeback there.
Sounds good. Yeah, just because I don't know them that well. You could
Sure.
almost do that with the Bond.
Oh,
But,
really?
Yeah, you could, because I just don't know it that well. Like, I'm familiar with kind of those sort of sheep, right? The ones that have the long wool merino cross, because that's just a really common thing. But I don't know if I've had Bonds specifically. You've actually skipped most of my favorite breeds.
Yeah. This is just from an article we pulled offline of like best sheep to spin, and chat wants to know your Angora hot take.
What's my Angora hot take? What do you mean?
Do you have an Angora hot take?
What do you mean by it?
Do you have an inflammatory opinion about the Angora?
Hey.
Okay.
Hey.
So, well, I'm gonna assume you mean rabbits and not goats, and because there are Angora goats, and I kept Angoras for years. I don't like it.
Oh, spicy.
It's too soft.
Okay.
Okay, so it's like the kind of soft that makes you like feel like it's sticking to you. It's good for some things, as everything is, but it's just too soft for me. I will say that if you're gonna spin Angora, if you are like the sort of person that like needs things ultra soft, English Angora is what you want. Go get English Angora. If you want to keep Angora rabbits, then don't get English Angora because they're horrible to groom, but get French Angoras because they're the easiest. But I will say they do have guard hairs in their wool, so
what are
they're a little prickly.
I'll keep asking you questions. What's your favorite breed that didn't make it on here?
Manx Lockton.
It's a what?
Manx Lockton.
Manx, like the Isle of Man.
Manx. Yes,
Nice.
Lockton. Go look them up. They have cool horns. I love spinning
Incredible.
their fiber. I love it. And then Shetland. There's no Shetland on here. Where's the Shetland?
I don't know.
Oh, they have the
Family
devil
dog.
horns.
Uh-huh.
They have like the devil horns. Hell yeah,
so
brother.
the story of the Manx Lockton is pretty cool. So like There was a lot of if you look at like the stories of the different breeds, there's a lot of times where they were like in there were special breeds that were in peripheral areas, and sometimes they were land races. And those peripheral areas, of course, eventually had some rich jerks who were like, "Hey, we want you to have more agricultural productivity so that we can get rich." And they would like, force people to take on these like production breeds. And the production breeds, which a lot of the breeds in this list are production breeds. And that's part of how it was so hard for me to choose.
Ah, sure.
Is that I don't love the production breeds. They're high input, high output. I like these kind of scrappy breeds that are like, living off seaweed on the coast of an island. And like, you have to catch them to shear them once a year. But other than that, they're basically feral. I love that stuff. But some of these farmers, like there's this case with the Manx Lockton, where basically there was one guy who had the old style sheep who refused to change. And then he died, and another dude took his flock. But that guy was like, he was just as crotchety, maybe more crotchety, because he's like, I only like the brown sheep. And so Manx Lockton, the Lockton means mouse brown in the Manx language, because we only have brown ones now. Because that guy didn't like any other colors. But it's such a beautiful brown, and I love it. That brown is commonly called Morit. Morit comes from the Shetland language. So we've kind of popularized that term for all these other breeds, but so we usually call brown sheep Morit because of that.
I'm looking at a Manx Lockton right now, and it looks like Tim Curry in Legend. It's got those devil horns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks
They're
like
cool.
cool.
4 or 6
headpiece.
horns.
What was that?
They could have up to 6 horns.
Yeah, they sure can. So can
wild.
Jacob sheep. They're pretty cool. There's no Icelandic sheep on here. That's a bummer. They have some of the best colors. And they're also interesting because they have these, like a certain percentage of them are leader sheep, where they're just like more confident and intelligent than the others. Although I've seen that in flocks of all sorts of sheep. But like Icelandics are famous for their leader sheep. And they're just like beautiful babies. They have really long, shaggy wool, and they're just gorgeous.
Aw.
I love all of these, like Orkney sheep. They're really cool, like the North Ronaldsay and all of that. Are they the best to spin? No, but I love them and respect them because they have adapted to some of the harshest environments that any sheep has.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's just cool. I like that they do that thing. There are a lot of breeds that just wouldn't even come up because we just don't have them on our radar. But if you go to like the Nordic countries, you'll find a whole lot of different archaic sheep breeds there. I got to hang out with some gray Tronder sheep from Trondheim area.
Nice.
And they're super, super cute. Oh my gosh. So, yeah. Anyway, there's like a lot of different ones that, Blasset. Blasset are really nice. Those are also in Norway. And they have like this really nice, like black wool, almost black, really dark brown. And it's actually quite soft.
Another question from chat. Do you have an opinion about yak wool, camel wool, alpaca wool, all the other wools?
I have another hot take about alpaca.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay, so do you know there was an alpaca bubble?
No.
bubble?
Yeah, okay, there was a bubble.
Like a
There was
housing bubble?
So, yes!
Wow.
Yes, like a housing bubble.
Oh, okay.
So I know this from being out in Oregon. I don't know if it happened in other parts of the country, but I do know that there was this period of time where there were all these people from California who were moving up, and they had like tech careers and stuff like that. And so they were like, "Oh, I'm going to like have a cool farm." And a lot of them started like vineyards and stuff like that. And they were trying to do like a second career, right? And they thought they were going to like invest intelligently and like whatever. And so they got sold on this idea that alpaca was the perfect fiber. The perfect fiber. Best for everything. Well, no fiber is best for everything. And so then they started buying these alpacas for like wild amounts of money. Absolutely wild amounts of money. And then they got stuck with them because, oh crap, it turns out when you shear an alpaca, you don't make a lot of money for that fleece. You don't. And so like they have sunk thousands and thousands of dollars into these alpacas, and then they're looking at getting between $80 and $200 per shearing. And these are animals that need vet checks really frequently because they're not really adapted for that environment.
Yeah.
So they're spending a ton of money on vets. So the only way for them to get their money back was through stud fees. So suddenly they're making more alpacas, and they're not being careful about which alpacas they're breeding with other alpacas. So it becomes a problem. And the bottom fell out of that market, and suddenly there were a bunch of alpacas that didn't have homes.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a real problem. It was a serious problem. So my alpaca hot take is that alpaca is good for some things, and it has to be handled in certain ways to be really good for other things. So it doesn't have enough crimp to it. Now, I have heard some things about people breeding them in Peru so that they have more crimp to their fiber. And the crimp is, if you know, like the term memory, right? So like that it'll bounce back into shape, right? If you stretch it out, it bounces back. That's what wool does, most wool. And alpaca doesn't. You stretch it out and it just lays limp. And so you can imagine if you start knitting a sweater, then the sweater is going to start to sag under its own weight. So you're going to have to, you know, knit it pretty tightly. And most people in the US don't knit that tightly. So that, you know, you're going to have to be really mindful about how heavy the sweater is, how heavy the yarn is, how tightly you're knitting it, and all of that to really make it produce a good final garment. And alpaca can get really heavy when you spin it, if you spin it densely. So you have to really think about that when you're planning your project. But you know, people aren't always aware of those properties when they're being told this is the perfect thing for everything. So I've seen a lot of really crappy alpaca garments. And so in general, I don't really love working with alpaca. It's super easy to work with, but I don't love it for most things. What I do love it for is anything that's supposed to be drapey and soft. That's where alpaca shines. Like a drapey, soft shawl is lovely in alpaca. But it can also be used in applications where you are going to like really pack those stitches in, or you're going to weave it super tightly. Like I've seen people do core spinning where they have like a core yarn and then they spin another fiber around it. I've seen core spun alpaca woven into really like durable rugs. And that was great. And you wouldn't think such a soft fiber would do that well, but it can get really dense when you spin it. So that was really awesome. But that's where I'm at with alpaca, is that I find it to be a bit problematic, but I don't really know if it's because I've been exposed to so much of the fiber from those animals from the bubble and their descendants. You know, like I would like to actually get some alpaca from Peru.
From Peru,
to really feel like I know alpaca. So it might just be U.S. alpaca that I have feelings about.
Sure.
Maybe.
So that's my thing there. Camel, softest fiber. It's incredible. Yak, soft, incredible. We're talking like cashmere sort of stuff.
Exactly.
So those are great fibers.
I have a camel blazer. I love it.
Yeah, they're great if you blend them with other things, and they're really at their best if you spin them super, super finely. So you can blend camel and silk and spin it super finely, and you have like an incredible thing to work with there.
Incredible armor to deflect arrows.
Right? Well, so you have a camel blazer? How does that feel?
Oh my god. Like getting a hug.
Yeah. I think not enough weaving of fine cloth with those things is going on. There's more like knitting things up, but I'd really like to see like fine, tight weaving with those sort of fibers, because then you get this kind of surface, you know, you can get this kind of halo on the surface that'll be super soft to the touch while having a nice durable cloth.
Yeah.
But in general, I mean, I can say like in the US, I see a lot of underspun fibers, a lot of underplied yarns where it's like it's not going to be durable. And you know, make what you want, make things that you're happy with, but a lot of these things that I see produced aren't really going to be that durable. And so I kind of worry that, you know, there's a perception in the US sometimes of that like hand spun yarn isn't durable, and it doesn't have to be that way, but I think that there's kind of a norm to have it be that way in a lot of places that I've seen.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to be really diplomatic about this, but like, when you go when you go outside of the US, you see that the spinning is often a lot tighter and a lot finer, and the plying is a lot tighter, and the yarns often are coarser, and they're knitted up tighter as well. The gauge is super tight, and that's creating really durable cloth. Now, we're really like acculturated to want everything to be really soft. And for some people, that's a sensory thing, like no shade on that, But we are acculturated that everybody prizes softness. And often softness stands in opposition to durability. So that's a choice that you have to make. And sometimes you make the choice that like, well, I'd rather a soft thing that doesn't last as long because I want to be comfortable. And that's totally valid. But in a lot of places, you just wear a soft underlayer and you have a coarser thing over it. So it's all very personal. I don't want to make anybody who has sensory issues feel bad. But I do also want to say that I think that, there's a whole lot of different qualities to textiles that we miss out on when we're so used to things that are made of plastic, that are really uniform, have this uniform texture. I've heard when I moved back to the US a few months ago, I was trying to find sheets that were just made of cotton. And I started looking around and I found almost everything was made of plastic. It's all this like microfiber, right?
Yeah.
And when I started looking at sheets online that were made out of cotton, and I kept seeing these reviews where people were like, well, they're pretty coarse because they're cotton. And I was like, when did cotton become coarse?
Yeah.
But I think it's this thing where we're prizing softness and not anything else. And I'll tell you what, I don't want a soft rug on the floor that's going to wear out in 2 weeks, Like,
there you go.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, now that I've,
I feel you've officially
offended everyone.
Yes, wouldn't be a tier list without it. The official sheep tier list, or at least these, I don't know, mainly British sheep from the article we found online that we adapted into this tier list. Cormo, undefeated, still number one on your tier list, and with that, I think we gotta call it an end to the interview and the episode.
Oh my gosh.
While I'm still, we're out of here.
It is
While I'm still
11
got you on the
PM.
line, where can people, if they want to learn more about all the things we talked about, where can people find you online?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so on Instagram, I'm Hooded Crow Crafts.
That's right.
And I have a website that's not very active right now.
But
I
it's
haven't
beautiful.
been putting things up since I moved. So that's Well Woven Tales. And then I have handspinningtraditions.org, which is my digital exhibit.
Oh yeah.
And I work at TAUNY, so you can also see things on TAUNY's feed. That's kind of where most of what I'm doing is showing up online these days. So Traditional Arts in Upstate New York. We're on Instagram and we're on Facebook.
Hell yeah. All right, there's one last thing to do, chat, before we call it a wrap on this interview and this episode, and you know what it is. And I'm talking about dropping ladders in the chat for Matilda. That's how you know they're applauding for you, if you see the emoji for ladders. But ladders for Matilda, ladders for this episode, ladders for this amazing tier list. And Matilda, thank you so much. It's been a second since I've got to hang out with you. Not since we finished Eureka 7. I think have we been on a call this long, but I really missed it. I had a lot of fun, and I hope your what do you call it? Your knuckles are recovered from the puppy bites soon.
Yeah.
And chat is dropping ladders, giving you a round of applause, as it were. And thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Absolutely.